What's up, guys? Before we get into this episode, I wanted to say that the barrel pick that Brandon and I are discussing in this episode, we now have some more information. So it's looking like, according to our current timeline, it will probably be ready for sale, bottled up, ready to rock at the end of February. So it'll probably release right around that last week of February, if I had to guess, maybe a hair later. Now, if you want to stay up to date on that, especially in case it changes, totally for free, go down to the link in the description, join the Whiskey Noobs crew. You can join the free tier, and I will be keeping that tier up to date on when it's going to go on sale, things like that. And then, of course, if you want priority to get that barrel, if you're worried that it might sell out before it makes it to the general public, then the paid tiers do get priority on that barrel pick. But end of February, probably join the free tier of the Noobs crew if you want the most up-to-date information on it. And that's all I got. Without further ado, this conversation is one that Brandon and I had when we did the pick. So we had just gotten done with the pick. We took a little bit of time to talk about the pick, the process, what we liked about it, what we did, things like that. So please enjoy. All right. So welcome to Whiskey Noobs. This is going to be a fun episode because we're here to talk about the barrel pick that Brandon and I did today. My apologies if I'm a little loosey-goosey because we just tasted it. We both used spittoons, but that's a lot of whiskey to taste.
8 different samples.
8 different
And then we
samples.
blinded 2 more, so
Yes.
10 pours.
Yeah, so for those who are concerned, like, you know, when you're doing a barrel pick, did they just send you 2 of them in the mail and you picked your favorite out of 2? We tasted through 8 samples, and then we got so debated on 2 of them that we were like, we got to blind these and come back, which I'm glad we did.
Yes, because
So.
it kind of flip-flopped for a lot of
Yeah, it did flip-flop. So let's start with who you are. Brandon, Whiskey Weather. What was your journey to get to where you are right now?
people. Yeah, TV meteorologist. That's where the weather aspect comes from regarding the whiskey weather portion of things. Weather has a big impact on how whiskey ages, right?
Yeah.
And it's that nerdiness that like really gets me going into whiskey. Started in 16, 17, like the month kind of blur together.
Yeah.
In TV news, every day is just like, you don't know what day it is. So
Yeah.
started with Scotch, believe it or not. And Macallan 16 year, became a fan of the flavors. I was like, oh man, the whiskey's not Seagram 7 that you mix with Coke or 7-Up or Jack and Coke. And from there, learned about the nuances of it and then started picking up flavors. And then Basil Hayden, Eagle Rare were the 2 that really got me into it. And
Okay.
that was 2017, and that rabbit hole has continued. So here we
Nice.
are, 8 years later. Started Whiskey Weather, the concept of it in 2021, but I
Okay.
was posting on my professional page, which is kind of a no-no when you're in the
That's a
TV
bold
business.
move.
Well before that, and they were kind of like, it's not the best idea. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'm going to make my own page. And it was called
Yeah.
Whiskey and Weather at that point. But
Okay.
Whiskey Weather officially started on Instagram like December of 2021, January 2022.
Nice. All right. And so then now looking at your overall channel, everything you do, like
Yeah.
what would you say if people asked you, what is Whiskey Weather?
It's a funny question. A lot of people are, so what do you do? I call it
Yeah.
a whiskey publication,
Okay.
right? I'm on all social medias, similar to yourself.
Yeah.
Try to get good whiskey in front of good people, save people money from spending on overpriced, overhyped bottles. I think that we're kind of in the same lane on that one.
Very much.
And trying to now more integrate how the weather aspect impacts the whiskey you're drinking, looking at the temperature range while that whiskey aged, what that was like compared to several years ago,
Yeah.
and how different climates across country. We're here in Ohio, which I think is now the new Kentucky when it comes to the climate because of the way the temperatures range back 50 years ago. Very similar to how Kentucky had a range 50 years ago. Now Kentucky runs a little hotter. So more of those aspects.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. With regards to the weather around the whiskey, we'll get into the barrel pick. We're going to talk about the barrel pick, I promise. With regards to the weather, though, what is a fact about how weather affects whiskey that most people don't know? Because I think everybody goes to like temperature, where you're placed at in the rick house.
Yeah, I don't think people realize the pressure change in altitude, right? Like, I think
Okay.
Colorado is a state that we need to keep a close eye on. There's some really good whiskey coming out of Colorado. And I think part of that is the altitude and the pressure, because inside the barrels, not only are you dealing with the temperature change and the humidity, but also the pressure change. Just like when you go up, your ears pop. Right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's doing the same thing to a barrel. So how much is that pressure changing the fluidity of that whiskey in and out of the staves as well? And I think that could be something that people don't necessarily think about too much. And I think altitude change could mess with that, but also just like pressure change with larger storms in and out.
High
High pressure, low pressure.
That.
Yeah.
I just recently got hip to the humidity, so pressure is like mind blowing for me.
Talking about dew points.
Yeah, yeah.
Very moist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Well, you bring up Colorado.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So,
Yeah, that's a great segue.
yeah, that's a perfect segue. So we're here at Middle West, but we didn't pick a Middle West barrel. Maybe in the future here for Whiskey Noobs, we'll see. But we picked an Old Elk barrel out of Colorado. So we had a couple of options. We had Old Elk high malted bourbon, and we had Old Elk wheated bourbon, both 10 years. So we went with the wheated bourbon, 10 years. We had 8 different samples across both brands, and we went with the wheated bourbon 10 years. How do you feel about the overall pick? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I was leaning wheated from the get-go.
Me too.
And I think that was the general consensus of the group. We tried through the malted barley, high malt first, and it was more of like just a weird funkiness to it, I think, which is cool. It's unique. It's different, but I just trend towards their wheated bourbon so much. So that I kind of maybe had a little bit more of a bias towards the wheated already. I was trying to go into it open. It just didn't, none of the malted barley, high malt really wowed me, and that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, yeah. No, I think that's totally fair. I think I also had a bias going into it towards the wheated bourbon, mainly because Whiskey Noobs crew hosted on Patreon, link in description. Shameless plug. No, but like we voted for the wheated bourbon. Now, here's what I will say about the high malt, because it's funky and it's weird.
It is.
And if like it was me standing in a liquor store, that might be what I would buy.
Yeah.
But if I'm picking an entire barrel of it, the wheated bourbon was the much more like solid pick for me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people trend towards the wheat because it's a sweeter mash bill. Right?
Yeah.
Especially at 51% corn, 45% wheat, and 4% malted barley. You're getting the highest wheat component that you can almost get out of a bourbon. And I think a lot of people trend towards that. Everybody knows it's come from MGP at this point. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's MGP distilled by Greg Metz when he was at MGP, and then he went to Old Elk and started Old Elk. But to me, I think Old Elk does wheat fantastically. And to me, that's why I had the bias to like, oh, we're picking a wheater today.
Yes. And I think that was also what everybody on the Patreon agreed as well. Because like I put out a poll where I did everything that Middle West had available to be picked. Basically.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, really?
And it was overwhelmingly the Old Elk wheated bourbon.
Hell yeah.
It was like, I think probably about 60%. Maybe it was over 50%.
Oh, wow.
Out of like 6 or 8 things, over
so
50%
big
went
majority.
Big majority.
Yes,
big
yes.
majority. And it held up to it, I thought. I think what we got was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it was down to 2, right?
It was down to 2 great pours.
And it was divisive. I think there were 6 of us here today, and we were 3-3 on that final pick. And I always love when this was probably my 14th barrel pick for the channel that I have. And I think 9 times out of 10, I would say we end up blinding our favorite 2 at the end.
Really?
Because a lot of people change their opinions.
Yeah.
Once you don't know the... One thing I'll say that's different about this proof than this pick than other picks is we knew the proofs of each pour.
Right.
That's
Okay.
not necessarily always the case. Usually I like to go into it completely blind. So there's no, and you've got the solo blind, which is the best thing in whiskey regarding taking away the labels and all the headiness of
Yes.
whiskey and just sitting with the whiskey itself. I always like to end on a blind because you're taking away all those different biases. And there's a bias because you have your favorite.
Yeah.
But you may just have been biased because that was the first one that you liked out of the first 4 that you tried. And you're like, all right, well, this is the one I'm picking. Once you take away and strip that bias and just put 2 in front of you and you pick your favorite of the 2, and that's what I love about barrel picks.
Yeah. And I'm really, really bad about that, which is why I love blind tastings. I am such a first impression guy, which is backed up by this barrel pick because we tasted, let's call them 1 through 4 of the wheated bourbon. And I tasted 4 and I'm like, that is phenomenal. That
Yeah, it
is
was
amazing.
very good.
And I'm like, 3, good. not great. Like, it's okay. And then luckily, we had some division in the group of 6 where everybody leaned toward, not everybody, some people lean towards 3, some people lean towards 4. And so we're like, okay, let's blind these 2. And blind 3 for me totally outshines. So yeah, you took I should have brought my notes in here. I didn't even think about it.
I brought the notepad.
Yes. So what were you thinking along the way?
So I if you're new to me, I have a rating scale I call the lightning counter. And every
Yes.
barrel pick I do, if you see.
Do you really? That's awesome.
I score each pick.
I gotta
and I
get
score
on
each
brand
barrel.
like you, dude.
And they were 6.4, 6.4. So they were like right
Really?
down the middle. I thought one of the noses was better, and I thought the palate was better on the other.
Yeah.
Once we blinded them, that completely flip-flopped.
Really?
Yeah, I thought the palate on 4 was better with the finish, and I thought the nose on 3 was better, but very far ahead better to me. Like,
Yeah.
I could sit and smell 3 all day. 4,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, it's fine, but it just, from nose to palate, it just continued to stay solid, and I thought 3 dropped a little bit. Once we blinded it,
Yeah.
different.
100%. And that's what happened. And so when we went to blind it, I did the kind of the same thing. And 4 was my favorite, 3 was the runner-up, and then we go to blind it, and I nose them, and I'm like, okay, I think I know that this is 4 and this is 3. And then I taste them, and I go, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I thought on the nose I was right, and then I tasted them, like, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Because these don't taste like I thought they did.
Yeah.
And that's where stripping that bias is extremely important. And that's why I love the solo blind, because you strip every part of the bias from it.
Yes.
And especially in a barrel pick, when we had 8 different pours to try today. Thankfully, we didn't have 8. No offense, middle. We didn't have 8 banger pours, right?
Right.
We
That's
had
what I mean.
two that were extremely pickable. I think either one we could have went with would have been
Agreed.
great. But what was the final vote? 5-1.
5-1. Yeah.
And we were 3-3 going into the end.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It was a divided boat going in, and then at the end we were all like, okay, no, wait,
Yeah.
this is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of it? The nose on 3?
For me, so I think you mentioned the nose. I actually leaned towards the palate a little
Yeah.
bit, but not at first. And this is where it was good that we did the blind tasting, because at first, and so if you buy this barrel pick from either of us, we're both going to have it available. Patreon.com/whiskey noobs. What's yours?
Patreon.com/whiskey weather.
There we go. All right, either of us. Let it set for a few minutes,
Yes.
because this is one that it opened up so much with a little bit of air. And I usually go back and forth about how much something opens up, but I was biased. First taste, I was like, that almost tastes a little bit young. It's almost a little black peppery to me. And then it opens up and it's deeper, it's sweeter. It has a little bit more of a dark fruit to it that I didn't get originally.
I wrote dark cherry.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right?
I got more maple as it opened up, like a
Really?
sweet maple syrup. But
Okay.
you said I said dark cherry. You said dark fruit.
Mm-hmm.
I get a little more cola notes to it.
I wrote down. I wish I had my notepad. I wrote down Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
I
so
genuinely
like a cherry
did.
cola
Yes, 100%.
with a little bit of maple to me, like that
Yeah.
sweetness. It's gonna be funny because we were talking about it in the room, almost like a Mexican Coca-Cola.
Yeah. That cane sugar,
Yeah.
that super sweet, 100%. That's so funny that I wrote. I wish I brought my notepad in here for that.
I wrote 1.8 out of 2 on the nose, which is an excellent nose on my rating scale.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I will say the nose, once it opened up, was much better. So I think that was my problem, is I judged it right off the rip. But then on the palate, it still carries through. It's got depth. The thing for me that I think pushed it over the edge was the other sample we had was very nice, like very approachable and sweet, but a little bit one-dimensional compared to this. Whereas this one had something different every time I came back to it.
Different. It's got more complexity, and I thought the mouthfeel was just. One of my favorite parts of drinking bourbon is just like the sensations you get of the mouthfeel. If it's got an oiliness to it, and it like just feel, it's gonna sound like that's what she said, but if it fills your mouth up and just like, I call it sticky. If it just glues itself, it's like, oh man, that could just feel that the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like, I think this one's way better when it comes to the mouthfeel when we blended them.
Yeah, that's a good point. So is that how you do? I don't know if you disclose this. Is that how you do your rating scale? Is you do a couple points to nose, a couple points to palate?
Yeah, so I'm pretty transparent.
Okay.
Every part of the rating scale gets 2 points.
Okay.
Nose, flavor, mouthfeel, finish, and value.
Nose, flavor, mouthfeel, finish, value. Okay.
All get 2 points. It's a 10-point rating scale. And I rate them all individually. So you could have a banger nose, and if it falls flat on the mouthfeel, you still get a good score from the nose, but you get docked on the mouthfeel, etc.
Yeah.
This one comes out of 8 points. It was at 6.4 out of 8. And then the value for a 10-year-old bourbon, I think it's going to be like $80 to $85, depending on. Don't quote us on the price. It all changes depending on distribution and how it gets through. But under $100 for a bottle that is 10 years old nowadays, I mean, the value there is fantastic. So we're looking at, on my rating scale, anywhere from an 8 to like an 8.2.
Oh, wow.
Which would have last year, that in 2024, would have placed it within the top 20 for my top batched bourbons of the year.
No way.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a
high praise, yeah.
Yeah, I need to come up with a ranking system. That's amazing.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
Yeah. I'm going to copy exactly what you just told me. No, I'm kidding. That's cool, though. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, though. I mean, that was what got me really excited because I went into this thinking we were going to pick Middle West wheated bourbon, which I absolutely – talk about cherry cola. I get nothing but cherry cola from
That's the blue label, right? Yeah, they're blue.
Like blue down at the bottom?
No, their outline of their.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah,
it might be. I don't know the.
I think their Michelin bourbon.
I should know that. Yes.
Is brown, and then their rye is green.
Yes,
okay.
that sounds right. That's
no,
blue might be just wheat.
Oh,
whiskey.
the straight. Okay, you're talking the
wheated
regular
bourbon.
Okay,
Yes. Yeah. So the bourbon, and I love it, and I think it's phenomenal. Might still do a pick of it in the future, but like. When he told me, like, these are 10-year Old Elk bottles, these are some of the first barrels they ever put up. Mm-hmm. That's kind of, I mean, I was pumped to hear that.
Well, and for those of you who don't know, Middle West bought Old Elk in April of 2025.
Yeah.
And the Old Elk brand has been dormant since that moment. And we're one of the first groups to pick a new Old Elk pick. It's not new in the fact that it's new to everybody. It's just the new way of doing things for them. So it's kind of putting that brand back out after kind of figuring things out. It was sad to see like Old Elk go away for a little bit, but I don't think they're going to go away forever, right? We're picking this brand. It's going to be here, and from the sounds of it, Middle West is going to continue to push out that Old Elk product, just maybe in a different way than you're used to.
Yeah, and I was kind of excited by the way they explained the way they're going to approach all of this with the different labels that they're going to put out. I think it's going to be awesome, and I'm pretty pumped to be at the forefront of that with this barrel pick. So we said cherry cola. We said
maple off the nose.
Maple off the nose. Anything other major standouts for you that you want people to know about for the barrel pick?
I think if you're looking for something different, obviously, we mentioned earlier it's MGP.
Yeah.
This was actually handpicked by the guy who made it. So when Greg was at MGP, he got to handpick what he wanted for Old Elk.
That is an important distinguishing factor.
So it's not just your normal MGP whiskey. It is what the guy who made it thought was the best when he made it.
Yeah.
So you're getting the top tier, at least comparative to what the guy who made it says.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Almost not to compare things, but when Jacob Call was at Green River, he did the same thing, and that's what you're getting out of Western Kentucky Distilling Company right now.
Yeah.
Same thing. Greg was the master distiller at MGP for forever.
Yeah.
He made this whiskey, and then he took it with him to Old Elk. So you're getting his hand-picked favorites.
Yeah.
And I think that just makes it stand up. A lot of people, because the one thing I see is, it's just MGP in a different label. Mm-hmm. This is a different type of MGP.
Yeah, and it tastes noticeably different from other MGP, especially younger stuff, right?
Oh, for sure.
And this was aged at least the majority of the time in Colorado.
And there's where that pressure and that weather difference comes through comparative to just aging the entire time in Indiana or Kentucky at some of the MGP Luxco rickhouses. You're getting some of the different nuances. We're getting some of those darker flavors that you wouldn't necessarily get out of some of that MGP whiskey.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, I am as well. And one of the questions I got when I said we were doing this barrel pick is like, are they going to let you just keep going out and grabbing barrels if you don't like what you taste, or what's going to happen? I said, I honestly do not know. I was really, really pleased with the 2 of the 4 samples that we were between.
And I think we had 1 out of the 4 for the high malt that we were all pretty dead set on if we went that route.
Agreed. I was, so 3 of the 8 samples, which you always have a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with 3 of the 8 samples where I was like, if I picked any of these, I would be okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so then the 2 we got down to with the bourbon, I'm like, these are both phenomenal for different reasons. So that I find I really like. I've had that before. I've even done on the podcast a full episode picking a barrel where we didn't pick a barrel at the end, and it was just tasting through.
If it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit.
Yeah.
You're not just there to pay money. You're there to pick the best that you can. If they don't have the best they are offering you feel free to walk away.
Exactly. So let's talk about let's move to Brandon for just the last few minutes here. You pick a lot of barrels. I've learned a lot from you, which I thank you for.
Happy to help.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. So when you're doing your barrel picking, what mentality do you go into it with?
It's a group pick. So my name or my label or my sticker may be on the bottle, but we're picking as a group, and I kind of even said that to us today. I may have my opinion, but I'm not going to rule like a dictator over everybody else. If the group says this is the one, who am I to say that they're wrong, right? Because we bought Patreon members with us, right? They're the ones who are supporting us. They have their own palates. That's my favorite part of whiskey too.
Right.
We all have our own opinions and thoughts and our own palates, and no one's wrong, unless you like Fireball.
Then you're wrong.
But it's a group consensus, and sometimes if it's a tie, sure, we're going to have to be the ones who pick it.
Right.
But I want everybody's true thoughts and opinions. I don't want them to be swayed by me, and that's why I don't. We were kind of quiet the entire time. I normally don't try to put my opinion out there because I don't want everybody else to be like, "This is what Brandon thinks, so that's what we're going to go with." It's a group decision, and that's kind of how I like to run my picks.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. That you and I both weren't talking very much, and that's how I do that. Even when it's not a barrel pick, like just with a tasting with other people, I try not to talk because I'm like, I don't want anybody to
Don't want any influence, right?
Yes, exactly.
Part of that blind portion of, because there's still that, I smell Coca-Cola. Oh, well, now I smell Coca-Cola, right? So I don't want any of those outside influences, so I'm not even going to put it out there myself.
Yes, 100%. And I always I joke about this when I have a tasting episode with a guest on, which should have just come out a couple weeks ago. We did one of those where it's like, I want you to talk first because I'm sure I can convince you.
Yeah,
that this
for sure.
This.
Well, that's another thing is we're the experts in the room, right? That's how some people would look at us. But we've got a bunch of other great people who know a ton about whiskey in the room with us, and I don't want them to think that we're overruling or taking their power away. To me, it's always a group pick.
Yeah.
There have been multiple picks that I was the one guy on the outside of like 5 or 6 other people who loved one side. So we went with that pick.
Yeah.
Because that was the group pick. And even though my sticker and I'm the one who's distributing it, if they feel that way, there's a good majority that are likely going to side with them.
Yeah, dude, 100%. And that's, I mean, like you said, that's what makes it so much fun.
Oh, for sure.
And that's why you got to just, like you said, like people look at us as like experts, and it's like, listen, man, I'm a dude tasting whiskey and telling you. I think in the world of influencers and content creators, what makes you an expert is just not being afraid to say whatever it is that you think.
Well, hitting the record button. Right?
Yeah,
that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can influence some others to get into the influencer game.
Yeah.
Just press play, man. Just press play.
Yeah.
Or record.
Yeah.
Press record.
Press record. Other people will press play.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah. No, absolutely. So, with Whiskey Weather, moving into the future here, what's some of the exciting stuff you got going on?
Man, I got a bunch of barrel picks coming out. We got one from Short Barrel, Western Kentucky Distilling Company, which I think is a brand that in 2026 you need to keep an eye on. If you love Green River, Western Kentucky Distilling Company is Green River on steroids, because if you love Green River, the guy who distilled it all is the guy who is running Western Kentucky Distilling Company, and he took his best stuff from Green River and brought it with him.
No way. Okay.
So Jacob Call, if you like Silk Velvet,
yes,
That's
Yes.
Green. That was made by Jacob Cole, brought from Green River. If you like Hemingway bourbon
I haven't
or
had it.
Hemingway rye,
Yeah.
coming from Jacob Cole. So we've got a barrel of that on the way. Another short barrel pick, dropped one a few weeks ago. 2026, just looking to get and find some of those hidden gems.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best part of whiskey is there's so many brands out there. I mean, paralysis by analysis is what, even I'm sure at home when you're looking at yourself, you're like, what the hell am I going to do?
Dude, every night.
That's the best part of Only Drams is you just hit that shuffle and it'll tell you.
Yes.
But trying to find those hidden gems in some brands that maybe people haven't heard of and try to find, I always try to say, I'm trying to find people some of those hidden gems that they may not have ever heard of.
Yeah.
That's going to save them a few dollars.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
We all know about the big brands.
Yeah.
And I think this year is in 2026, watch Buffalo. I think Buffalo Trace is going to do some weird things this year.
You think?
I think what they're going to do is we're going to see some of the same labels with different products in those labels.
Really?
If I was Buffalo, because I think that they've made so much 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And now this market is
I see what you're saying. Yep.
Weller Bottle and Bond, maybe? I don't
Ooh,
know.
okay.
That would be a prediction that I have in
Okay.
2026,
Okay.
maybe.
Weather forecast. I like it. I like it.
I'm forecasting 2026
I like it.
trends. Keep an eye out for Western Kentucky Distilling Company and what Buffalo Trace does with their excess product.
Okay. Good to know. Awesome.
What they in 2016, 17, 18, they ramped up production. We're at
Yeah.
that 8, 9, 10-year mark. A lot more Eagle Rare going to hit the market soon.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay. Now, I will put everything down in the description, so no need to like frantically type it out. But where do people find you? What's your biggest platform? Where do you tell people to go? Where should we push people?
Instagram is my biggest platform as we record this.
Okay.
But YouTube has taken off. You can find me here on YouTube, just whiskey_weather. That's the same place I'm on TikTok as well as Instagram. Instagram is my baby because that's where Whiskey Weather actually started.
Nice.
But I'm on Twitter as well as Facebook, and I've got a website, whiskey.wx.com. A lot of people don't realize WX is the acronym for weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay. Awesome. I'll put those all down in the description below, and then also this barrel pick that we are talking about right now. That will be all of the updates are going to be on just the free portion of my Patreon. I try to keep people updated there. I'm sure you're going to be doing the same thing.
Yep.
We will put your Patreon down below as well. Join the free tiers. It costs you absolutely nothing, and you can be up to date. But the paid tiers are going to get access to it first.
Yep.
But then at least you're up to date and you have all the information. Anything else to close?
it's always Whiskey Weather.
Absolutely. Hey, I like it. Always on brand.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Thanks
you
guys.
for having me, too, by the
Yes,
way.
of
Thanks for having
course. Of course, man. I'll leave you guys with learn to drink to learn.